Good morning and welcome to day number 2 of Quiet Time. I think as the human race we have been given a yellow card by nature, and because this is a Saturday and many of us are dying to be out on a sports field, a golf course, watching our children play cricket, rugby, soccer, hockey, and we're confined to our own homes. Maybe today's reflection has got a sporting theme to it. I was reading through my journal, and a few years ago I had the most memorable discussion with my Uncle Butch, who's not actually my uncle, he's my godfather. He's a marine biologist, and he taught me 2 extraordinary things in life. He said, there are only 2 ways to learn things in life. The first is through the hard knocks of life, and the second is at the feet of the master. And he said, the second is infinitely less painful than the first. We were having dinner at South Africa's finest restaurant, the local grill, not too far from here. And he said that in all sports, there may be 3 guiding principles, certainly all ball sports. Many rules that should be obeyed, but 3 guiding principles. The first is that you never ever pass the ball to someone who is in a worse position than you. Of course, this formed a metaphor for life, and we wonder how many times people pass the hospital pass down the hierarchies and hallways, when corporate executives flee in helicopters from their ivory towers while their businesses are burning, when sportsmen are thrown to the lions while the administrators are sometimes well looked after. The old adage of "it's not my problem" is passing the ball to a position, somebody that is in a worse position than yourself. The second principle he talked about was that we should always find a space and then play into that space. That the great successes of life and sports seem to be in people finding space. The way batsmen work out new ways of facing challenging deliveries, and how bowlers find out new ways of bowling them. After all, David slew Goliath when he claimed his space as a slinger in artillery and not as a swordsman in heavy infantry. The prophet, the writer of the prophet, Khalil Gibran, talked about this beautifully in relationships, and he said that great couples seem to find their spaces in their togetherness. And I wondered for myself what or who were occupying my space, and it didn't always seem to be the same things that were occupying my time. The third principle that my Uncle Butch talked about was that if you don't take shots, you'll never win. And while it's true that a Rugby World Cup can be built around great defense, we also need to score points. We have to have a go. We have to put up our hand and take a shot sometimes. Nick Faldo once won a British Open with 18 pars in the final round. And you might say, well, that's very solid and dependable and conservative. But even he then would have known when to take on certain shots and when not to. And that caused me to think about whenever I left the putts of my own life short on the greens. When have I not put up my hand? When have I not volunteered a thought, a comment, or a contribution for fear of vulnerability, that we need to take shots sometimes? And taking a shot at our own goals is imperative if we are ever to hit them. And that means to dare to fail sometimes. So ask that someone special to dance, build your own bucket list, pull out the driver on a reachable par 4 every now and then. Sing with your kids in the car, travel without an itinerary, or have the odd meeting with no agenda. It's never comfortable to say I tried and failed, but I'm sure it's worse to say I never tried. There is often magic in the unknown, and when it finds some space to shine, it can light up the world. Just ask a humble herd boy who years later took a shot at wearing a number 6 jersey a rugby jersey, and amongst other things, he changed the world. A fine wine and a well-aged steak are luxuries at the local grill, but when they are washed down with wisdom, they become a privilege. And I guess rules may be there for a reason, but guiding principles are there for a purpose. I look forward to the next lesson at the feet of the Master. Have a great sporting or non-sporting Saturday, and until tomorrow, we'll see you then.